Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Just to set the stage, you guys are at the Hangout on Air for meeting the needs of young learners with tablets with Google Play for Education. So my name is Kristin Kahlich, and I'm on the Google for Education team, typically based out of Mountain View, California. So what my team works on are things like this EDU on Air conference, but we're focused on providing schools with technology that's easily scalable and collaborative so that you can help build 21st century skills in your students. So we focus on things like the platform through Google Apps for Education and Classroom, devices like Android tablets and Chromebooks, and then content to use on those devices through Google Play for Education. So on this specific panel, we're going to focus on tablets along with Google Play for Education and how you can use those to deliver individualized and engaging learning to younger students, so in the K through 2, K through 3 space. So to help out with that, we've got three fantastic panelists. We've got Brian Dittfeld, who's from Indian Valley in Ohio, where he's the technology director. We've got Karen Muldrow from Barbers Hill in Texas, where she's the project manager. And then Susan Herder, who is an instructional technology coordinator from Mounds View in Minnesota. So before we actually get started on the panel, I wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping. We've got some questions prepared for the panelists, but we definitely want to give you a chance to ask any questions that you have. So if you'll click on the upper right-hand corner, there's a grid. And when you click that grid, one of the options will be to open the Q&A app, and that'll pull up on the right-hand side of your screen. So if you have any questions throughout this 45-minute session, please feel to type those questions in, and they'll come up for me as the moderator, and I'll be able to ask those questions to the panelists. If a question's come in from somebody else that you really like, just give it a +1, and the more +1s that question has, it's going to raise up to the top. We'll be able to answer the most popular questions. So again, to get that Q&A functionality, click on the grid and then the blue Q&A icon, and it'll pull up that Q&A app on the right side of your Hangout screen. Great, so we'll go ahead and get started. So the first thing I wanted to do is just give the panelists a chance to introduce themselves, tell you a little bit more about their role, their district, and the technology that they're using. So Brian, if you don't mind taking it away.
Hey, hello everyone. My name is Brian Dittfeld. I'm the Technology Director for Indian Valley Local Schools in Jeanette and Hutton, Ohio. I'm also an authorized Google Education Trainer and Google Certified Administrator. And our school district consists of about 1,900 students between 2 elementaries, middle school and high school. And currently we're 1-to-1 in grades 4 through 12, with a majority of those devices being Chromebooks. We actually have about 1,200 Chromebooks right now district-wide. And one of the reasons I'm here today is because we also have about 200 Nexus 7 tablets in our K2 classrooms that we've been using throughout this school year successfully.
Great, thanks. Kim, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Kim Muldrow. I'm the project manager for Barbers Hill ISD. I am also Google certified admin, and we have about 1,800 Chromebooks in our district right now and about 550 Nexus tablets. We are actually going away from a traditional 1-to-1 program, which makes us a little unique, I think, in the education realm right now. And we will add in another 2,200 Chromebooks plus about another 100 Nexus tablets for the fall.
Great. And Susan?
Sure. I'm Susan Herder. I'm the Instructional Technology Coordinator for Mounds View Schools, just north of the Twin Cities in Minnesota. We have 13 sites and about 10,000 students, and currently, well, I won't say currently, but by the end of the summer, we'll have about 7,500 Chromebooks in place, and we have about 200 Nexus tablets across all of our kindergarten classrooms.
Great. So all three of you guys are using both Chromebooks and tablets and Google Apps for Education. Can you give a little insight to the listeners as to how you chose different devices for your different audiences and specifically where you're using the tablets in your district?
Yeah, for us, we really focused the Chromebooks in grades 3 and up. We felt the tablets really worked better in the K2 environment. Especially when you look at kindergartners, when they're still trying to learn the alphabet, it's kind of hard for them to type on the keyboard. So, we just really found that to work better in that environment. And with the Chromebooks in 312, it's also with state testing and stuff. So.
We have pre-K through 3rd grade. We have four tablets in every classroom, and then we have in our 4th and 5th grade we have 4 Chromebooks in every classroom. And we went with the tablets on the lower end because we just don't have to teach them. They know it. They are very familiar with that touch technology, and the learning curve was pretty non-existent for those children.
Mm-hmm. We decided to go with tablets. We had iPads in our district before, and the management of that was just really challenging for us. And as we moved from a half-day kindergarten to full-day kindergarten, we were looking at some kind of tool that we could put in classrooms for small group work. And the Nexus tablets, along with Google Play for Education, really provided teachers with the flexibility they needed to personalize learning for their students. We will be adding 5 Chromebooks to every kindergarten classroom as well for next year. We found that students are actually ready for that by the end of their kindergarten year to take tests right on our Chromebooks. So we're going to see how that goes. And we're looking into that model for grades 1 and 2 as well.
Okay. Great. And so for any of the listeners that are unfamiliar, Google has a managed tablet program where you use an Android tablet, an approved Android device, along with Google Play for Education. So Google Play for Education is a website that you gain access to whenever you're using any of Google's managed devices, whether that be Chromebooks or tablets, and it gives you the ability to push out content to your students' devices. So if you find an app that you're interested in, you can send that out remotely from this website to the device. Do any of the panelists have any kind of stories about how Play for Education specifically has been used with your tablets and how that's kind of shifted the content management model at your district?
For us, it's worked really well because, again, that ease of the management, allowing the teachers the control to be able to really push those apps themselves without having to put in any type of help desk tickets, is a time saver for both myself and the teachers, and it's so simple for them to do. With the Google Play for Education store having it really broke down by categories, and pushing the app is like sharing a Google Doc. That it's worked out really well. As in some of the stories and stuff that our K2 teachers seem to use. They really like the IntelliJoy series of apps. That's the company with the apps, and they have a whole suite of different ones that work extremely well that I highly recommend. Our teachers also use the QR Droid, and it's kind of neat how they use it. Is that in correlation with the website Lit2Go? They actually take QR codes that link to different stories on that site, and they have them on cards to where our younger students can just pick up that card, scan it, and start reading the book. And that's worked out really well for them also.
Yeah, on our end, for me on the IT end, it's a game changer. Play for EDU is, because it allows our teachers to not only push down those apps, and they don't have to wait on us, but they get an opportunity to explore. They get an opportunity to go in and fit what meets their needs, not what we think meets their needs. Mm-hmm. So it's been a great learning tool, and on the management side, there is no comparison to be able to set up those tablets and just put them in the hands and let them go. Mm-hmm. It makes it so simple.
I'm with Kim. I think it took me longer to unbox all the tablets than it did to actually set the tablets up and get them distributed to the classrooms. And as they both said before, kids, it's a natural environment for them. They understand how the touch screen works. And so they were actually teaching our teachers how to use them for a while, for some of our teachers who were used to a different type of device. But we also use the IntelliJoy series of apps, as Brian mentioned, and then one tool that our teachers really love is just having a video camera available every day. So our teachers are often recording students learning how to be students, because these are, you know, our youngest learners, and then they'll talk about those videos, send them home to parents, and it's been a really powerful tool for communication with families.
I like that. And so whenever you decided to bring tablets into the classroom, I mean, I'm sure there was kind of a hurdle in getting your teachers on board and trained in using the new technology. How did you address that piece of introducing new technology to your teachers?
For us, I mean, it really wasn't, you know, as big of a hurdle as you know, we thought it, you know, like we think about a lot of times with. I mean, our teachers were really wanting tablets, and you know, and as what was mentioned before, iPads are just difficult as of right now to manage in a school environment. And you know, when this came about with the Google Play for Education tablets, that's when we made the move. And how we deployed it really was we had an after-school training for about 45 minutes with the staff that were getting the tablets. Really just showed them just some, you know, the basics of, you know, an Android device with the apps on the home screen, things like that, just some basic things they would need to know for navigation. And from there, it was really showing them the Google Play for Education store and how to push those apps out. And again, with it being as simple as sharing a Google Doc, the learning curve really wasn't there, and the teachers were using them literally the next day. And and like was mentioned with students, the students we didn't really have to do anything with them, and because when those apps get pushed out, they're just right there on the home screen, and it's extremely simple for them to just tap on it and go.
So we actually held a 2-hour PD session with our teachers that were receiving the tablets, and then we've had ongoing training during their conference periods, which has been, I think, very nice for them because they can come in and we can personalize that training. We also have click coaches, which are available online, so no matter where the teachers are, they can get to those and look at those and, you know, and still submit those questions. It has been, it's such a neat thing to watch when you go and you push those apps and you're holding that tablet and you watch them start popping up. It's just, it's a game changer in my opinion. It's the best thing that we've seen come along.
I did basically a 1-hour training. We gave them the tablets the same day and brought them into a computer lab. I had created a Google Doc that just described the store and how to do some basic searches. We walked through that once, and then teachers started adding apps almost immediately. We had bought them a license for RazKids, so that was the first app that went onto every single tablet, and it was like magic watching the app show up, as Kim was saying, and just seeing their faces go, oh, this is so great. I don't have to call the help desk. I don't have to call a tech support person to be able to get these pushed out. So it was really minimal, and then I worked with several teacher leaders at our 2 kindergarten sites, and they've kind of taken the lead from there.
Great. I wanted to take a quick time out and just to remind the audience that if you have any questions for the panel, you can ask them by opening the Q&A chat bar, which is up on the grid on the upper right-hand side of your screen. That blue Q&A button should open up that questions and answers app. Otherwise, you can also add your questions into the feed on the Google Plus page for this Hangout on Air, and I'll be refreshing that feed and answering any questions that are coming from the audience. But in the meantime, I was wondering if we can take a bit of a step back and think a little bit about K through 2 learners, and if you guys could share your philosophy on what K through 2 learners need in regards to technology in the classroom, and how tablets fit into what you're trying to do with those younger grade levels.
Again, I think with the tablets, it's just they're so easy to use, and you know, I think that's the key. I mean, having that touch response for those young learners, I think, is very important. As again, when they don't necessarily have the motor skills yet, especially in those early kindergarten years, you know, because again, until they get toward the end of the kindergarten, you know, it really comes in handy. And again, I just think having that touch response is extremely important for that, and the ease of being able to get to the content for them.
Yeah, I'm with Brian. The ease of use for them, they're online all the time. This is when we don't provide that at the schools, we are taking them, in my opinion, just a step backwards because of what they're used to doing. And I think that we're having the ability now to, instead of playing games on their tablets or on their mom's phone or whatever it is that they're playing on, they can now download the apps that they're using in school and practice their letters and practice things like that. So I think it's turning the tide for our students to give them something to do other than just playing those games that they would normally do.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the greatest things for us is that it really provided students with a choice to direct their own learning. So a lot of our students are becoming more aware of the things they need to practice, even as 5- and 6-year-olds. And so they're able to look at that tablet and pick from the apps that are being provided to them and take that responsibility themselves. And it's really wonderful to watch a student that young say, well, I still need practice writing my lowercase letters, and they click on an app and they can practice that right away. And it's completely driven by their choice and their interests.
Right. And so with the different tablet deployment models that you have, are students typically using these as part of group work, as part of centers, as free time whenever they've finished, you know, other lessons that the teachers are providing? How does the tablet time in the classroom usage actually shake down?
In our situation, like I said, we did 200 tablets, you know, split between the classrooms in K2, and also gave a tablet to the teacher. So that came out to be a set of 10 tablets per classroom. So with that, they are used more in a station setting, or if there's free time available for them to use them.
Mm-hmm.
In our situation, I believe they're used almost daily, and they do use them in multiple ways. They love to play Kahoot, so they will get into groups and they'll answer their questions on Kahoot. They have we recently had an art teacher that decided she wanted to do claymation, so she was using stop motion video, so the children were learning how to move like the old Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and to watch those kids make those videos and then go home and make those videos and publish them to their YouTube channel has just been really cool to see that everybody's using them differently, but it's all having the same effect for our students.
Mm-hmm.
In our kindergarten classrooms, we're using them mostly in small groups for enrichment and remediation, depending on what the student needs. We're also using it to enhance the reading skills. So with RAS Kids, our students will record themselves reading. That recording goes onto their website where our teachers can review their fluency, and those audio files can be sent home. So in addition to that, it's really multiplying the number of teachers we have in the classroom, because students are getting their individualized kind of leveled reading assignments within that as well. But they will also pull them out and use them at different times whenever it's appropriate, like to make a math video or to record something that's going on in the classroom as well.
Yeah, and so I know that you guys have called attention to a couple of the apps that you use, RAS Kids, Kahoot. What are some of the top apps that you're finding that teachers are using with their K-2 learners?
Again, for us, it's the IntelliJoy series, the QR Droid, but what we're also seeing is Kahoot, you know, being mentioned, Socrative, and then also a number of just regular websites. I mean, they use it for Renaissance Learning, they use it for Compass Learning through the Puffin Academy app, and again, it's been great for them. And
yeah.
And we have a number of other apps we use. And on my blog site, googleizingedtech.com, I have a whole list of different Android apps there, because again, I don't want to stay here and go through that list for everyone. So
yeah, And that's a good point. Brian has a great blog, and I'll give him a plug. It's called Googleizing EdTech. So he's got different hardware reviews, apps that their teachers recommend. So we'll have Brian share that into the Hangout page at the end of this session, so you can use that as a resource. It's a really awesome site.
We have one of our pre-K teachers that has just started using an app called My Sight Words, and she is doing some amazing things with it. She's recording different things, and she's able to personalize it for each student. Our tablets are not, we don't have one-to-one, we only have 4, and I set each tablet up as a user. So the kids have to just go in, and they don't have to pick up where the last student left off, but they can go in and just pick up what they need. And so My Sight Words is one that they love. Kahoot, they also love the stop motion, that they can do the claymation videos. Some of our teachers have just started using Flickr, which is really fun to watch the kids as they're watching their answers roll live on the screen. And then just QR readers play a big part in what our teachers are doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have our tablet set up the same way that Kim does. We have an account on for each tablet to avoid having the kids have to sign in all the time. And I'll second the IntelliJoy group of apps. I think those SightWord, I mean, they have a number of them, but I know the SightWord app has been huge for us in terms of fluency. They're also pulling a lot of first grade games. I know there's an app called just First Grade Games and Learning. And so that helps us really move some of our students further along than they would have in the past, especially with our full day instead of half-day kindergarten now. Gives us some more time.
Mm-hmm. And we have a question from the audience that I'm going to pop up to the top. William Jeffrey asks that with younger students, how do you manage sign-on for your students? Since most apps require an email address and then tablets require a sign-on as well, how do you guys deal with that or get around that?
For us, and it sounds like similar to the others, is that we did go with the generic account method on our tablets because again with them being shared the way they were, it didn't make sense for us to have them assigned to specific students, and that really saves a lot of that time because when they grab the tablet, they just swipe the lock screen to open it up. And it's already there. Everything's logged in, ready to go, based on that generic account that's on the tablet. And for apps beyond that, like Renaissance, well, it's not really an app, but what sites they go to that do require a login, they just use the same login that they would normally use to access it.
Mm-hmm.
We do the same thing, and we really haven't purchased any apps yet. We've been able to use all free, and they do use Accelerated Reader, but they know their logins for that, so they just go straight to that website and log in. It really has not been an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Same here. It's once we created the accounts, the generic accounts, it really hasn't been an issue at all for the students to get to what they need.
Got it. And then do you guys, outside of the generic tablets accounts, do you have email addresses through Google Apps for Education for those younger users?
Right now, we have Google accounts for grades 2 and up. So our kindergarten and first graders, we haven't yet. We're exploring possibly going to first grade for next school year with it, just because of some things that they're wanting to do. But as of right now, we're just grades 2 through 12 with that.
And our students 3 through 12 currently have Google usernames and logins.
We create accounts for students as soon as they enter our system, so even our kindergarten students have accounts, but our email address is really long, so it's very hard for them to type in all the letters for moundsviewschools.org.
Yeah. So just kind of a side note to William's questions, Google Apps for Education, since it's an education product suite, can be used with younger learners. There's obviously some concerns for a kindergartner being able to enter a super long domain name at the end of their email, but as long as you have the parental permissions and have set them up through Google Apps for Education, students can have usernames at those younger grade levels as well. So Kim, I wanted to call attention to you because I know you highlighted a story where students were creating stop motion videos with the tablets. One of the things that we think is really powerful about technology in the classroom, and then especially tablets whenever it comes to the portability and the touch screen and the video, is that you can really start using them as creativity devices and having students, create their own content. Do you have any stories of classroom usage where you're seeing the power of tablets as those creation devices?
Well, and I will put some of I have a story on my blog from for the claymation, but I haven't put the videos up yet. And I was watching one of the videos yesterday, and it is just amazing to see the creativity that you light up in these kids that otherwise, would never know that that's even a thing, So the kids that they did this whole explosion thing at their house. That we even got an email from a mom that said, instead of wanting to go outside and play and do all these, they wanted to make this claymation video. So it was so impressive to see that they not only gathered all their material and made that at their house, but then that they uploaded it to the YouTube channel. It was great. But another thing that we're seeing is, teachers aren't real comfortable being in front of the screen. They're not used to it. They don't want to see it. And we now have teachers using the tablets to video other teachers using the tablets in their classroom. So it's been a great growing process for not only the students but for our teachers also. And our teachers they didn't get tablets. We just put the 4 per classroom, so they just share with their students.
Mm-hmm. Great. How about Susan or Brian? Do you have any stories about tablets for classroom usage that's centered around that, creation piece?
Not like I said, not really creation. Like I said, it's been more of consumption and just remedial lessons and learning with the different apps where they need some extra help with. But they haven't really, our students haven't really gotten into the video recording and stuff yet.
Mm-hmm. And for that remediation piece, where do you see the power of tablets in being able to work with students that need a little extra help?
With how easy it is and with apps just right there for specific topics. I mean, it's not even just a blanket, just here's a basic math program. I mean, there's so many things out there targeted towards specific mm-hmm. things that you can put it right on that tablet and just say, during a pull-out group or a station, that student could have that tablet and work on that specific thing. I mean, it allows for a lot of differentiation to happen because of the fact that every kid could be doing something else on each one of the tablets that they need more help with.
Mm-hmm. Susan, do you have a classroom story you'd like to highlight around differentiation or individualization or creation, any of the shuns?
Well, I think some of our teachers are just really, they realized that they had a lot of power in that camera for themselves in making recordings in their classroom, but now they're starting to see the power of using that, that tool to create stories and have students create stories. So we've had teachers who, for their science class, they were learning about nature and living things, and so they took the tablets out with them and took pictures, and while the next step would be having the students put together the video, the teacher showed the students how to, and I can't remember which app she used, but she basically layered all the pictures into a video and added some music to that, and they had their story from their walk in the woods. And some of our kindergarten teachers are now taking a closer look at how can they use a shared Google Doc with the tablets to do that too, because the students, if we put it in that shared generic account, all the students would have access to it, and they would be able to share their own pieces to those stories.
Mm-hmm. I like that. So there's another question from the audience that I'm going to pop up to the top, and that's about whether or not Google Play for Education is responsible for vetting apps for the K-2 user group. And I'll go ahead and start the answer to that question, but basically Google Play for Education is a site that's special just for schools. So it's separate from like the consumer Google Play site where you can find music and movies and stuff to use on consumer devices. With Play for Education, every app that's gone in there has been reviewed by other educators and given an EDU stamp of approval. And then you can filter based on grade level and subject matter. So if you're in Play for Education and click on kindergarten, you can see all of the apps that educators thought would be good for kindergartners as well as good for the classroom. So do any of the panelists have any stories or suggestions about how to use Play for Education to make sure that you're finding content that's specifically good for classroom usage?
The thing I like about, oh, I'm sorry, Brian.
Oh, no, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
The thing I like is that it's very clearly marked on each of the apps. The yellow flag actually just shows you, a rating from teachers, and it shows you that there's not going to be any ads in there and there's no purchases in there. So when teachers are looking, it's so easy for them to just be able to kind of take a deep breath and then to look at that and say, I don't have to worry about those things. I can just click on that, see if there are teacher ratings or teacher tips within the site, and then really just say, I'm going to push it out, I'm going to try it, and if it doesn't work or it doesn't do what I think it's going to do, I'm just going to pull that app off the tablets later.
Yeah. Brian, did you have anything?
Yeah, and just to kind of go on that is, again, the way the Google Play for Education store is designed, you literally go to the subject area you're looking for apps for, and then from there it's broken down by grade level. So again, those apps that have been kind of outside reviewed for what grade levels it's really works for is there. So you go by grade level, and then from there you can even go by standards. So again, if it's a Common Core standard or how you plan on wanting to use the app. The search is so broke down that it's it's nice because it's real easy for the teachers to find content for a specific situation.
Mm-hmm. And with Play for Education, one of the things that we're really trying to do through the site is to empower teachers to find content that they want to use with their students and to kind of remove that as an IT function and allow it to be something that either IT could do or teachers could find their own content to push out to students. With that in mind, how do you guys guide teachers towards certain content? Do you let them make their own decisions? Is there a list of apps that you recommend? And what are the different resources that teachers use outside of just the filters in Play for Education to find the types of things that they want to do with their students on the tablets?
For ours, we have a Google Sheet that we have shared to kind of give input on. As we find different things, we kind of put that out there to the teachers. But really, we do leave it up to the teacher to find the content that works best for their classroom. And again, the way that Google Play for Education store is designed, that's just that outlet has worked well in that aspect. And giving the teacher a tablet actually then has allowed them to try the stuff out first before pushing it out to the other ones in the classroom.
And we just find that the site is designed so well, and it is categorized so well, and the teachers know, like Susan said earlier, what's available, and that there's not going to be ads inside. I think the most important thing for us was giving our teachers an opportunity to play and just look. Give them the time to get in there, and so they could understand exactly what it was, what the site was, what it contained, and then just let them look around. And once they got comfortable, then they started pushing down apps without an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we just ask that our teachers, if they find something they like, that they make sure that they share it. So there's a Google Doc, just like Brian has, that keeps that information together, and they'll share it across the two sites to say, hey, we found something that we think would work for you too. And they just put the link right in it, and the teachers can go to those links and take a look at it. So, one of the pieces we didn't want to lose was that collaborative piece around their planning when they're using different apps and the devices.
Yeah. Great. So another question from the audience is just around the idea of going Google. And it for this particular listener, school district is terrified of Google for EDU. What advice can you provide to help ease those fears? Or if you were talking to a school district that's a little reluctant to go Google, how would you make the case for what you've done and why you think it's the right path?
For me, it really comes down to you know, we really need to know what exactly their fears are specifically to really go from. But I mean, as a basics, I mean, the collaborative piece that Google Apps provides, and the fact that you can, you know, access it from anytime, anywhere, any device. I mean, that's huge for schools. And the other thing is it's all free. So I mean, you save so much money that can go to other things. And on top of Google then also having affordable devices available, it all works together. I mean, in the scheme of things.
Yeah, I think it's too good to be true that you're waiting for that hook. I know when we initially started this process at my previous district, everybody kept saying, well, something's going to change, something's going to change. And so far it has changed, definitely, but it has only gotten better. Mm-hmm. And it's frightening for IT because you just don't believe that it can do exactly what they say it can do, but it does.
Yeah, I agree with both of them that it's really the collaborative tools that it allows our students to work anytime, anywhere, and our teachers actually to collaborate at a much higher level across buildings, not just within our buildings, but across buildings and across our district has made probably the biggest difference to us. And I can't imagine ever going back from it now that we've had it for a number of years.
Yeah, great, well, thank you. There's a couple of questions that are coming in that I'll try to address. One question is whether or not will Chromebooks have a touchscreen? And at this point, there are some Chromebooks that have touchscreen functionality. It's important to note that those Chromebooks are still Chrome devices, so they're entirely web-based. So the Android devices are running on the Android operating system, which means that they have a little more app availability and some stronger offline functionality, but there are some touchscreen Chromebooks that will give you know, that tactile functionality as well. Are any of y'all using the touchscreen Chromebooks, or Brian, have you tested that out as part of Googleizing EdTech?
No, I have not. I've not tried one for testing with that yet, but I will say I have used one, and you know, they are nice. You know, where we've been hesitant to do it is just really the repair cost, because as we found in our one-to-one program, screens are your biggest damage that you get, and some of the prices that I've seen on some of the repairs for the touchscreen ones, that's kind of been the hindrance right now.
We are not using. We have not purchased any of the touchscreen. But on the repair, I just have to make this comment for us for repairs. We have over 550 tablets in play, pre-K through 3rd grade. So you have to think of your age group, and we've had one cracked screen. So that on an IT side is tremendous. We have no repairs, and we've eliminated printing. So that's another cost that we've saved, and we've had no one ask. We may now, but we've had no one ask about printing, which has been a huge turnaround for our district.
And to echo with that, same thing. I mean, with our tablets, I mean, we've had a couple of the micro USB cables, the tip get kind of broken off, but as an actual screen damage, we've had none. And you know, and I jokingly tell people the consensus is just the younger level takes better care of the stuff. You know, you would think that's where you would have the most damage, but it really isn't. So
they're not vandals in kindergarten.
You know, I think we do a better job of teaching younger students how to take care of devices because it's the first time they're handling them.
Yeah, the newness factor. There's another question that Julie Stewart asked. Hi, Julie. She's wondering, how do you guys allow for the spending of funds to purchase paid apps versus the free apps? Are you allowing teachers to make a purchase, or do you have somebody else make that purchasing decision?
For us, you know, we kind of, I don't want to say made a mistake, it's just we didn't really know how all the POs initially worked when we did it. So right now I do handle that the purchase order because you can delegate purchase orders, but it's an all or nothing. So when we did that initial amount in there, it's like, yeah, I don't want to necessarily delegate that out. So so I'm handling that one right now, but any future purchase orders we do, now that we know how it all works better, is we're going to break them up in smaller portions and allow the teacher to do it. Because again, I think it just makes sense. I mean, the whole reason is to empower the teacher, so why have that hindrance of having to wait for someone else to do the purchase if you can dedicate a PO to that teacher for that allowed amount and just let them do it.
Yeah. So for the listeners that are unfamiliar with the Google Play for Education site, in addition to being able to push out apps, if there are any apps that have a cost associated with them, you're also able to upload a PO into your account. And so it's just, you know, a set of funds that you can use to easily pay for apps that have a cost. And so as an admin on your Google Play for Education account, you can upload those POs, and then you can also specify who can use them. So you could give your teachers access to POs to buy apps, or, you know, to specific POs for their different departments or that kind of thing. So you have some flexibility around allowing different users to pay for content in Play for Education.
Well, and for us, the setup for Play for EDU is really good. We have, you know, that you can push down those POs and you can share all that out. But honestly, we're in May and we have yet to we've had no one ask to purchase an app. They are utilizing the free ones so far, so that's also a benefit for us.
And I'll add the same thing. I mean, we had that initial PO because again, that was a grant with grant funds we had to get with that. And again, we did that PO prior to some of the purchase order changes we've seen here recently with Google Play for Education. But we have that PO there, and it hasn't been used that much yet. I mean, for again, some of those IntelliJoy apps, but again, there's so much free stuff that actually is working well that they've been content with that.
We do have POs that are we made some of our building bookkeepers the purchasing administrators in the store, and then we made our teacher leaders delegates for that purchase order. But we're looking at, this was the first year we had our kindergarten center separate from our elementary schools, so we are looking at a way to provide each teacher with at least some funding to purchase their own apps, and then as a building, what are they going to purchase? But it's very easy to set all of that up.
Great. So we are nearing the end of our session time, but to close out, I was hoping that if you guys have a story of how tablets have transformed your district, whether that be a teacher that's really embraced it, a student project that you thought really had a great impact, just a transformational story that we can share to close out the session.
For us, again, it's just it did change the classroom. I mean, even in the station setting, because again, the kids are excited, they're engaged. It's funny walking in one of those classrooms now and seeing the students just all huddled, you know, in their area using those tablets, sitting out in the hallway doing stuff on them. And things like that, and it's been a real good experience. And again, the teachers love them. The kids really love them. They ask the teachers every day, when are we going to use the tablets? Are we using the tablets today? And it's good. I really like it. And I know this is focused more on younger students, but even in our older levels where we've had the one-to-one with Chromebooks and stuff, I mean, again, study hall is one of the quietest places, you know, with having it, and because again, it keeps them focused and they like it. So
we've actually had a teacher that has gone in and recorded herself reading stories and asking questions and dictating things. So in her mind, in her center, she has different centers going on in her room. She can be in multiple places at one time, which she loves, because while she's spending one-on-one time with this group of students, the group of students that's using the tablets, she's also spending time with them because they're listening to her. So I think that's also helped out our teachers. They've learned so much, I believe.
Great.
I agree, and I think for us it's that power for students. They're taking control of their own learning, and they're able to make those choices for themselves. So we're seeing a lot of growth from students. and also that the teacher is multiplied in that classroom, so learning can be extended far beyond what we could do in whole group instruction or even in small group instruction, because these kids can take whatever they're working on and run with it as far as they want. There are no limitations to what they can learn with those devices. It's been very exciting.
Great. Well, I wanted to thank everybody for signing in to today's Hangout on Air. We appreciate you listening, but special thanks to Susan and Kim and Brian for participating in today's panel. You guys had some great insights, and we really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Great. Well, I
Thank
hope
you.
everyone enjoys the rest of EDU on Air. There's a lot more great sessions to come today, so check out the site and sign in for some others, but thanks again for coming today. Bye.